Hey everybody, you are listening to another episode of the Perilous Podcast. I am your host, Jonathan Latt, and joining me as always in the Bunker of Doom, it's the co-host, it's Angie Carrier!
Hi!
Hey, what's going on?
You know, not much.
Oh, bringing your A game as always.
Do. I gotta think of like a tagline to
just
start.
so full of sass.
Yeah.
Ready to face the world.
Yeah.
And just hating everybody
Yep.
that you get. No, fair enough. No, look at the camera, you
Yeah.
can tell she doesn't like anyone. She likes you, but she doesn't like anyone. And you are listening to Lobby Time by Kevin MacLeod. Get all your royalty-free music on Incompetech.com. Of course, you can license it, but why would you? If you're cheap like me, just give them a shout-out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Incompetech.com. Lobby Time.
That's all.
And here we go with the, what do we call it?
Smooth transition.
That's right. We'll listen
really
to
had to think about
a little more of that on the outro. And some of you who are watching are probably asking yourselves, why are we wearing the same clothes 2 weeks in a row? Time travel, bitches. No, as we explain to people, Angie is an actual adult and has a real job. And I am not an adult with a real job, but I work very hard. And so we get together and we record a few of these at one go.
What do you do all day?
Well, you know, those Lego Millennium Falcons aren't going to build themselves.
Shut up.
But actually, I do have a Lego Millennium Falcon that I bought for.
I have not seen it.
And I know, you know why? I haven't had time to build it.
Oh.
It's been sitting in the fucking box for literally 2 years. I bought it for my 46th birthday. And I have just been so, because I work 7 days a week, and now I've changed my schedule. I have, as you know, I was going through a personal thing.
Yeah.
With someone, it's all worked out now.
Okay.
But I'm trying to play catch up. I didn't work for 4 months. I just managed my portfolio. And so my new schedule is...
You mean money portfolio? That's what
yeah. No, I'm just staring at pictures of myself.
Yeah.
Because I'm beautiful. Yes,
my portfolio has websites on it.
Yeah,
so
no,
like,
my money portfolio.
Yeah, I wish I had one.
Well, if you were a cheap fucker like me, you might buy
Yeah.
stock, everybody.
In the 90s.
Yeah, well,
No, just kidding.
whatever.
It's
No.
not as good now.
Don't hate the player. No, there's good stuff. I'm buying stuff now.
Yeah, you have to have the money first to be able to do it.
Not necessarily. First time I bought stock, I was 26 years old. I bought a few shares of Heinz because I like ketchup.
Yeah.
And
When
seriously.
my dad does Pepsi.
Yeah, but I started. But then I started to put a lot of thought into it and started doing it. I'm not a day trader. I invest long. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I have that, and then I got a pilot assignment. So I just wrote a pilot, which is nice. And
That's the dream.
Yeah, it's better than a real job, man.
No kidding.
But what I do with my day is. I was going to release a novella. I formed the Chapel Perilous so I could release stuff. I have wonderful publishers, but I want to start releasing on my own.
Yeah.
So, like, this fancy microphone is for audio recordings for the novels.
Yeah.
So, this August I was going to release a novella, and things just got too backlogged. So now I'm pushing everything to next year. So, it's... next year I'll be releasing a novella in January. Then a full-blown sci-fi novel called Blood Rebellious in the spring, a full-blown modern-day sword and sorcery fantasy novel in the fall, and then the sequel to The Geek, which has been optioned as being developed as a television series.
You're living the dream that I'm
But here's the thing, I've been doing this long enough, it means nothing.
Yeah, well, I know, but I mean...
And I shouldn't say it's being developed as a television series. It's been optioned.
Yeah.
We have some big people attached.
Yeah.
And we're trying to develop it as a TV series. Still, there are a lot of free lunches involved. And if you're going to come out to Hollywood and be a writer, survival tip number 1, never turn down a free sandwich.
Yeah.
You go to those meetings.
And you can bring leftovers.
Oh, yeah. Oh, here's the thing. I really did this. I was meeting with a producer, this was a few years ago, who just constantly wasted my time.
Yeah.
Constantly wasted my time. And would talk big, and then nothing would ever happen. So finally, I just sort of had enough. And I look, you don't want to burn. But I was also still drinking at the time.
Yeah.
So I was way more of a dick than I am now. Because now I think I would just go, listen, why don't you just call me when it's real? And he was one of those guys where okay, you know, the people that are really serious in this town will take you to a restaurant they like. People that aren't really serious and don't understand it will take you to a restaurant they think makes them important. So this is a guy that always wanted to meet at the Polo Lounge.
Yeah, I'd be.
Yeah, but he always wanted to meet at the Polo Lounge, which is fine. And he was just more of a rich guy.
Yeah.
He had produced a few, anyway, done that. So I went and I met him for lunch, and I ordered lunch. And then when the waitress, the server, came and said, "Can I get you anything else?" I ordered a steak to go.
That's amazing.
Oh yeah. He's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm getting dinner too." Really? I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "You're paying for it. You keep bringing me here, and nothing ever happens." And then I doubt I even ate it. I just drank my dinner probably, and then ate it 3 days later.
I did that by accident on Monday. I did badly.
Drank your dinner?
Yeah.
It happens. So I get up now. This past week I started my new schedule. So Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays I'm up at 5:30, and I write until about 11, and then I go to the gym and I do jujitsu, which I do jujitsu. Mainly I just get beat up, and then I come home and I clean up. And there's
I was just gonna look at you had your jujitsu stuff over there. That's why you can't see that. That's what I.
There's no jujitsu stuff over there.
Isn't there?
No.
Oh, yes, there is. It literally says.
Oh no, that's karate. That's different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's a different thing. It's a totally different martial art. But I do that, and then I'll come home and I write. Today I couldn't go to jiu-jitsu because I was working all day. And then Tuesdays and Thursdays I'm recording the audiobook for The Geek, which is only a year and a half behind schedule. And but today I was editing a bunch of videos.
Oh wow.
So and then that's what I do, like 7 days a week.
Seriously, that's what I would rather be doing than having to.
No, I'm not saying it sucks.
No, I know. I'm in awe of your.
I would really just rather be playing video games.
I would really just rather watch and catch up on my TV shows.
Yeah,
I haven't
some good
watched
stuff.
them.
All right. So
anyway, so conspiracy theories.
So conspiracy theories.
Or that we have to work every single day is a conspiracy theory.
It is. It is the man. So that was 7.5 minutes. So why don't we? I know the one you want to talk about. Let's talk about the one we can do in 20 some odd minutes.
Yes.
So today we're going to talk about the Philadelphia experiment. This is going to be a little longer than our assessment of the Black-Eyed Kids.
Yeah.
Which we were going to do a whole episode on the Black-Eyed Kids, and we decided we can just fold that into.
Was it Venom? No.
I think it was Skinwalker. Which anyway, it was either I think it was Skinwalker or no, I think it was Denver International Airport.
Denver. That's it. It was where, that
yeah. So we were gonna do a whole episode on the Black-Eyed Kids, and we both looked at each other and went, "I think we can do this right now."
Yeah.
And what was our conclusion?
No.
No, it's bullshit. Yeah. It's not true. There are no Black-Eyed Kids. It's not a thing.
No.
Sorry. So anyway, so let's talk about the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah.
Which you and I believe, will disagree on this because you think it's bullshit.
Yes.
And I think it's absolute bullshit.
Oh.
So it's a little different. And for me, it's very sad that it's absolute bullshit because when I was younger, back before the interwebs, and everything, and all you really had were books. And if there, we did have the internet kinda, but it was mostly just, these very rudimentary chat rooms or whatever, but mostly conspiracy people, you just sort of met and talked and there wasn't, I've been doing this so long, I used to exchange letters. Not emails, letters.
Do you have any of those still?
I do. I have a few.
Oh, that's fine.
And would send books back and forth to each other. So there was a book called The Philadelphia Experiment: Adventures in Stupidity. No, that wasn't the name. But it was. I think it was called the Philadelphia Experiment: something interesting.
Yeah.
And it was written by a guy named Charles Berlitz.
Yeah.
And I read, it was one of the first conspiracy books I had read, and I just ate it up with a spoon. And I just, of course it happened. Of course. But this is where, again, the Chapel Perilous. You can stand outside the doors of the Chapel Perilous and believe and disbelieve at the same time. The minute you enter the chapel, you have to face both sides.
Yeah.
And by the time you leave, you can only believe one thing.
Yeah.
And so for me, the Chapel Perilous of the Philadelphia experiment, by the time I left, it was not true.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because that would have been so cool. So Philadelphia experiment is basically, if you don't know, in 1943, the USS Eldridge, October something 1943, they were doing, the Office of Naval Research was doing an experiment, which is really impressive because they didn't exist until 1946, 47.
Yeah. This wasn't 1947 was like, then we determined during Roswell, that's like the year everything happened.
Yeah.
Black Dahlia, the FBI, the CIA.
There's a lot of crazy shit going on. So basically it was supposed to be an experiment that rendered the ship invisible.
Some Harry Potter shit.
Yeah. And that it would be able to pass by enemy ships and then show up. But that's not what happened. What happened was, yes, the ship became invisible, but then it traveled from Philadelphia to New York, and traveled to another dimension, and then traveled back to Philadelphia, and people were trapped
in the metal, like
in
some
the
hot
metal,
solo
and
shit,
men went
probably.
insane, and like half men were like trapped in the thing that never happened.
No.
It never happened. So,
also, then wasn't there like a 10-minute time jump or something like that too?
Yeah.
Like it like traveled 10, so they were there where they were 10 minutes.
right. Well, and look, I'll play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So how the Philadelphia experiment first really came about was there was a guy named Carlos Allende, also known as Carl M. Allen, who
just wanted a cooler name. He added that D.
Well, you know, it is kind of proven that he was a little and a bit of a leg puller. Old Carlos.
Tall tales.
But he was very smart because I look, I think, you know, look, there are a few different types of people in the UFO world, especially back then. There are the people who are looking for fame. He wasn't.
Yeah.
And then there's the batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Which I think he was.
Yeah.
Or there's just the bored and lonely and they're looking for attention.
Yeah.
I think it was a little from column A, a little from column B.
Yeah.
Little batshit crazy, a little lonely.
Yeah.
And he claimed to have been on a merchant marine vessel, I believe, called the USS Furuseth or something.
Yeah.
And witnessed the experiment. He was not on the boat. We'll get to that bullshit later.
Yeah.
By the survivors of the Philadelphia experiment. So and it'll lead us into something that we should do a whole episode on because it is kind of interesting. And I think there is some there, but not as much there as they would have you believe.
Yeah.
So Carl M. Allen started writing letters to a guy named Morris K. Jessup, who had written a book about UFOs, and brought up the Philadelphia experiment, and said he saw it disappear, you know, he saw it reappear, he saw the men buried in the hull, he saw the men losing their mind, he ran into a guy at the Philadelphia shipyard in a bar who just disappeared, he was one of the survivors, and the here's what I believe. Well, okay, let me play devil's advocate for a second. So a lot of people will say the Eldridge wasn't commissioned at the time. But it actually was. It was commissioned in August of 1943.
A different city at the time.
Well, yeah, but boats.
They moved.
Yeah. And it was launched in July.
Yeah.
So launched in July. So when there's a difference between launching and commission. So when a boat is launched from dry dock into the water, it may be missing certain parts, not the parts that make it floaty, but internal stuff. And then it'll be commissioned when it's fully complete. Yeah. Now they will say it was on its way to the Bahamas or whatever. Okay, and don't get me wrong, I actually believe it was. But I'm saying if you're going to play devil's advocate, it absolutely was available to be used for this. And quite frankly, if you're going to try and make something invisible, maybe use a launch ship and not a commissioned ship.
Yeah.
Put a skeleton crew on board and whatever. But then the problem is that later, I believe in the late 50s, early 60s, maybe a little later, it was sold to Greece. Here's what I know. If you have a ship that disappeared, went to another dimension, reappeared in New York, and then reappeared back in Philadelphia, and when it reappeared, there were men embedded in the hull of the ship, you don't sell that ship to Greece.
No.
That ship gets studied for 100 years. Yeah, absolutely not.
And also, we would have so much better technology now. Everything would be going invisible. The patent would have came up.
Well, that's actually not a bad point. We do know that, and we do know that the government, especially when it comes to military stuff, they're about anywhere from 20 to 60 years ahead, technology-wise, to what we see in the open market.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is possible. Having said that, we know nobody else has invisibility technology, so if nobody else has it, maybe they wouldn't release it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But your point is very well made in the sense of, absolutely. Now, I believe the story that really what this is based off of, and one I know, which is that they were doing an experiment to degauss ships because the sea mines, would be attracted to the electromagnetic signature of the ship and explode. And if you can degauss a ship, you make it invisible to the mine.
Yes.
Very smart.
Yeah.
And it works, and they still do it to this day.
Yeah. Is it degauss or degauss?
Degauss, whatever.
Like that,
yeah. They're neutralizing the electromagnetic signature of the ship. And then there was another one, and I apologize, I can't remember the name of the ship, but it was a ship where they were experimenting with a new type of generator. And the generator, there was something a little off about it, and it caused a coronal effect. So it would cause these flashes of light that were completely excuse me. They weren't harmful. They didn't do anything. They didn't they didn't vaporize anybody.
Yeah.
And so you have these two myths meeting. Now, here's the only time this gets really weird for me. And if the Philadelphia experiment happened, it certainly didn't happen the way Carlos Allende said it did. So Morris K. Jessup writes this book, The Case for the UFO or something like that. There are three people in the Pentagon and the Navy, the Department of the Navy, who receive a copy of Morris Jessup's book. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this is the only thing I was going to bring up that made me question it. Well, maybe I think we're talking about the thing is that they went and they asked about Carlos because, the Navy, the U.S. naval officers went and were like, "Do you tell us about him, or what do you know about him?" Yeah,
they called. So the Navy gets a copy of this book that is annotated in 3 different pen colors, which most people say it was all Carl, which is possible. Maybe it's not, but it certainly intrigued the Navy enough to not only call Morris Jessup in, but to ask him for the letters and to talk to him. And not only that, the Navy, this is a fact, this is not disputed, the Navy went to a company called Vero, which did a lot of contracting for the Navy, and had them print 100 copies of this annotated book. And it's called the Vero edition. And there are supposed copies of the Vero edition you can download or whatever. I don't know if that's true. I'm actually thinking about downloading it. I don't know, but again, not disputed. The Department of the Navy, these are not stupid men, and these are skeptical men.
Yeah.
Found this so interesting, they had 100 copies printed, not to be handed out at parties as a gag, but to be circulated through the intelligence and research community to be read. That's a little weird.
It is so there must have been something in there,
right?
That
but I think there was
resonated with them. Either that he was correct, or there was something.
I think there was something in there that had nothing to do with the Philadelphia experiment. That they went, okay, hang on. This guy either knows something or has hit on something that You know, there's a great classic film with Robert Redford called 3 Days of the Condor, which I highly recommend people go see. Well, you can't go see it because it's not in the movie theaters, but rent that fucker. Download it, torrent it. We know you
Robert
do.
Redford, what a babe.
You know, he's the dream. But 3 Days of the Condor. So Robert Redford plays a CIA analyst whose job is all they do in this movie, and I believe the CIA and other intelligence agencies probably have this, is they read books. This is from the 70s, right? So they read books to make sure of two things: A, no one's leaking classified material, and B, no one accidentally, somehow, like just through their own imagination or whatever, is writing something that's going to be published that inadvertently tells a government secret.
Right.
You know, like, you know, let's say I'm writing a book on a murder or something, and I, excuse me, involve like the government or something like that, and I inadvertently, through my own imagination, actually put something in there that the government is actually doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what this department
in
this movie was doing. So whatever Carl wrote, I believe it certainly made them go, okay, let's figure it out. But in the end, he was deemed harmless enough to where they didn't go, you know, sometimes somebody gotta get whacked.
Yeah.
You know, so they let him live.
Yeah.
Because he was either deemed crazy enough or harmless enough to where he wasn't gonna make a difference. But that to me is interesting. But that actually has nothing to do with the Philadelphia experiment. Now, the Philadelphia experiment, it just didn't happen. I wish it did.
No, yeah.
You know.
That it's too sensational.
Yeah. Well, and again, you and I disagree. I believe Roswell happened.
Yeah.
You know, I believe other things. But the Philadelphia experiment, here's my problem with the Philadelphia experiment. And another sort of thing, because back when I was a youngin', you know, so I think it was the late 90s when the first book in a series of books came out called The Montauk Project, Experiments in Time, written by a guy named Preston Nichols. Since then, it's been taken over by a guy named Peter Moon, for the most part. And there's like 100 books in the fucking series at this point. So there's Preston Nichols, a guy named Al Bielek, and Stuart Swerdlow, who all claim to have worked on this amazing conspiracy. And we should do a whole episode on Montauk Project, because it is kind of interesting. I think that's the thing where I think there is some there, but not the there that everybody thinks is there.
Yeah.
But, you know, so Stuart Swerdlow, I have met. I think he's just sort of a sad little guy who wants attention and you know. I don't know Preston Nichols. I think he's just, you know, Preston Nichols, they go out of their way to do things that I think all people who are writing a hoax do. Now, I'm not going to name names, but there are other instances, and we can do a whole episode on them. But he and Peter Moon go, if you want to read this as fiction, go ahead. You know, we're not going to tell you to, you know what I mean?
It doesn't matter if you believe it or not.
Believe it or not, but, you know, if you want to think it's fiction, go ahead. You know, these are people who know they're lying.
Yeah.
And so where it ties in is Al Bielek, who claims to have survived the Philadelphia experiment and also worked for the Montauk Project, traveled back in time. So the Montauk Project deals not only with time travel, but teleportation to, like, Mars, where we have secret bases. Because sure. And again, this is one of those things where when I was young...
I saw Matt Damon, he was at one of those.
He was growing taters. You're growing taters on Mars. Some people call it banana blade. Anyway, so the Philadelphia experiment is folded into this other thing. So now it's even more fantastical where, you know, so Al Bielek and Preston Nichols, they have these repressed memories and they go into these trances and they didn't know they were going to Camp Hero to work on the Montauk Project. And then there's this special chair that teleports them over. And when I first read the Montauk Project, I was in my late 20s and I was doing really good drugs. And I of course I believed it. Because again, you believe these sort of things when you're really young. And again, that's the thing where you have to You're allowed to believe what you want to believe. I'm not going to tell anyone not to believe it, but don't tell me that I'm wrong for not believing in it, because when you apply the logic filters to it, it's the Montauk Project, the way they say it happened, just did not happen.
Yeah.
And so we go from a guy like Carlos Allende or Carl Allen, who claims to have witnessed the Philadelphia experiment, to Al Bielek, who was sent back in time and ended up on the ship. You know, he's a lot like Scott Bakula and Quantum Leap.
Yeah, that was a great show.
That was a wonderful show. So it just weaves in. So and that's unfortunately what a lot of hoaxers do, and what a lot of clever charlatans do, is they weave these things into bigger things, and it all becomes convoluted.
Yeah.
You know, and that's unfortunate. But for me, you know, Al Bielek killed the Philadelphia experiment beyond a shadow of a doubt. And also, I came to later find out that this was before I read Montauk, which is what I think made me doubt the later stories about the Philadelphia experiment and everything. So the Charles Berlitz book, the Philadelphia experiment, which is supposed to be an investigative report, they just took whole chunks of another novel called Thin Air, which I believe is a fictional story about the Philadelphia experiment.
Yeah.
And just put it in the... So I just... I really wish it would be true. Because that would be fucking awesome. I want all this stuff to be true.
Oh,
it's just not. It's just not. And you know, one of the great ones that I love is people will go, well, you see, you know, they had all these coils on the ship, but they didn't realize that salt water conducts electricity so well that it was just overpowered and it was a mistake. Hang on, Captain. The Navy
didn't know that.
Didn't understand salt water? Really? Really? No.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. I don't believe the Navy didn't understand salt water.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if there's anything the Navy understands, it's salt water.
Yeah, you would hope so.
So I wish it was real. I just don't think it is. So you got any closing thoughts?
No, but I did hear something or read something about one of the guys. Now I don't remember, because it was just in passing when I was researching, that he claimed that in 1958, I believe,
the ship reappeared.
No, it was not that. That he was somewhere and he ran into Mark Hamill, who was an adult, even though he was only 5 years old at the time, in 1958. Yeah. Because Mark Hamill was like a part of.
That was probably Al Bielek, Preston Nichols, or Stuart Swirl.
Yeah, that's what.
Because they're full of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark Hamill. I'm sure.
And what did this interaction with the 5-year-old? So wait, Mark Hamill was an adult?
No, he was an adult, but he would have been 5 that year. They ran into him.
Why was Mark Hamill an adult?
I don't remember that. I just skimmed it and was like, oh, okay. But he didn't realize it was Mark Hamill till Star Wars came out or something like that. It was like, oh, that was the guy.
Yeah, but why was Mark Hamill an adult in 1958?
Because he time traveled.
Oh, Mark Hamill time traveled.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did they give a reason?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, that was probably...
That's why he's in Star Wars, probably.
Yeah, duh. Yeah, that's probably Preston Nichols, Stuart Swerdlow, or Al Bielek, and yeah, it's unfortunate. But again, there are people out there that... And I think I've told you this before. I had a neighbor in my old condo who just believes everything. And he's a grown-ass fucking man. He's older than I am. He owns his own company. He's a very successful guy. And he believes... everything. I'm like, dude, stop it. And also, he's one of those guys where some of the things he believes contradicts other things he believes, but he's still able to believe them both. And it's like, come on, man.
Does he do like the forward the emails that are like?
No,
like
thank
forward,
God.
Like,
Oh
I
God.
have a friend whose dad, he legitimately believes everything.
Well, when I say everything, I mean like UFO conspiracies.
Oh yeah, even that. He believes
but
all
he's
that
not
stuff.
he doesn't
but he
believe
also like.
No, that's the weird thing. He's a critical thinker with everything except UFOs.
Oh yeah.
It's insane.
Oh, just UFO stuff.
He just believes.
My friend's dad is like UFO and political. Those are his two believes everything.
Political stuff.
As long as it's against the left.
Right. Well, he's a conservative as well. Yeah. This guy, but he's I wouldn't say he's a nutbag.
Yeah.
but when it comes to UFOs, for whatever reason, he just believes it all. Fucking drives me insane.
That's really funny.
It's like, come on, man. Seriously, get your shit together, grown up. God damn it. And I can see his wife when he brings it up. She's rolls her eyes. And I'm like, yeah, well, you know. And he's like, he believes in star children and Thurpo and shenanigans. No. Anyway, sorry. All right, so listen, everybody. Angie and I, again, have spent another half hour shitting all over your dreams. I apologize, but it didn't happen. Now, look, if you can prove to me beyond a shadow of a doubt, let me see it. I don't want to see footage of the Philadelphia experiment. I've seen it. That ain't it. It's not true. I don't want to see videos of the Hutchinson effect. It's not the same thing. And I don't know that anyway. Find me proof. Prove me wrong. I wanna know.
I wanna ship in here.
Yeah. No, there's no room in here. Stop it. We can. Oh, okay, a little one. Yeah. Please do not teleport a full battleship into my sound studio. Just still paying off this house. Yeah. So. No. All right. Well, listen, everybody. You have spent another half hour with me and Angie, shitting all over your conspiratorial dreams. But you know, there's so much out there where people just, you know, for the clicks or the views or the downloads, they just say things and go, and they believe everything, and that doesn't do anybody a good service. And quite frankly, if you love this stuff the way I love this stuff and the way you love this stuff, you need to be a critical thinker. Yeah. You don't do anybody any good.
Pizzagate happens when you start spewing stuff and believe everything. Totally.
And here's how you know when things get out of hand. If Alex Jones has to apologize for a conspiracy, it's a bad conspiracy. I hate him so much. I know. He's a pant pooper. Mm-hmm. So, and also, anyway, but, one quick thing about fucking Alex Jones.
Oh, I have not about fucking.
Well, the thing I like about Alex Jones is if you go all the way back to when InfoWars started, you can watch the insanity slowly
for sure.
creep up. He was always nuts.
Yeah.
And but the weird thing is, I guess his lawyer had to come out a couple of months ago and go, Alex Jones is just a character because he's getting sued by his wife or something.
Didn't he
just completely betrayed everything just to save a little money. So yeah, he's the Andy Kaufman of conspiracy theories. So anyway, everybody, go to my website, jonathanlatt.com. All the shit you don't care about in one convenient location. Pick up my pulp novel, The Geek. Why not? Follow me on social media because I post stupid stuff. And head on over to Angie's website if you need a UX designer. And that's about it. I got nothing else. What do you got?
Nothing.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, Angie. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.